And from another apartment to another apartment, they would have to wait until, have a flow, a cycle, so we can get people out of Gulfstream and on their own.
Not everybody gets along down there, so it's conflict.
They have cameras in the hallway, the kitchen. They have 2 security guards on duty at a time. Cameras outside. Some of the security guards are a little weird. One of them actually hit on my sister when she came by, and then want to try to hit on me. No.
The children have nothing to do at Gulfstream. They have no playground, just a dirt ground that they play in. They get dirty every day. It's not a place for children to stay. It's not safe. It's not a good environment for them, no.
I'm trying to do all I can so that I can get out of there so that my daughter can have the childhood that she's supposed to have.
My son did say the other day, he said, Mama, I feel like that I'm in a prison. I'm getting claustrophobic in here. The disease that we can come and go as we please. But outside of that, I think that, it is a prison.
Living at Gulfstream, you can feel like you're getting somewhere, but really you're not getting anywhere. Because if you try to do something, there's always a rule that's stopping you that you cannot move forward. Like I said, I had a job. I love my job. This is the first job I had ever had in 3 to 4 years. And because there's no babysitting, I had to give up my job. I had one of my neighbors that used to collect my children afternoons and put them on the bus mornings. And because it's a no babysitting rule, she was unable to continue on doing it. So that's why I had to stay here with my children for the last week. And my job, I lost it.
They want us to go out and make our rent money, but we can't babysit each other's children to do that.
We've had clients whose children have been taken from their care specifically because they're living at Gulfstream. How can it be grounds to take someone's children from them when at the same time you're housing 40 to 50 children in the facility, and demonstrates that government knows that the facility is not suitable for young people?
Living on Gulfstream makes me depressed.
So you get depressed. I get depressed. I get depressed all the time.
When they put people at Gulfstream, they forget about them.
I don't know what else to do. I really feel like leaving the Gulfstream, and whatever happens, happens. Mentally, I can't take it no more.
It's kind of hard down there because they treat you like you're less of a person than anybody else, like you need them. And if you do anything wrong or mess up, they say, well, we would evict you and get you kicked out. And it kind of just, they make you feel like less of a person.
In a country boasting the 3rd highest income per capita, how can some Bermudians struggle to earn a sufficient wage? A combination of low educational attainment and low-paying, unskilled jobs trap Bermudians who cannot access the lucrative world of corporate Bermuda.
Right now, I'm really trying to focus on educating myself, try to get an education in the medical field so I can come back to Bermuda and get a job and always have a job because of that qualification that I have.
I know what I want in life, but having a son and living as a single parent and making as little money as I do, I have no other way to say I'm going to go to school and pursue my career in electronics. Not at this present moment anyway. When we want to move forward in life, like let me go out and put some time in for school. But I'm working, that's when family services or whoever comes and says you're neglecting your child. But you're only trying to make it better. Like maybe if I get my papers, I could get hired her and I'll get paid more for my son, but they're not looking at the bigger picture. It's always, oh, you're never with your son, you're neglecting him, but it's not that.
Policies that can help mothers go back to school would be an incentive program where parents or moms are rewarded for going to the program academically and then completing the program, and then that there are also programs to assist them with childcare, with transportation. So for those who do go to school and who complete the program, that they are rewarded. So it's like being therapeutic instead of being punitive.
The statistics tell us that there has been real job loss, that the decline in jobs has been like the first in a number of years. The jobs have always been going up. So if those who are losing their jobs are at the top end now, and they're starting to feel it, and we're starting to see it manifest in terms of the delinquency in mortgages and other things, that tells us that not only at the bottom but also at the top, and we could be in for a very bumpy ride.
If every single place is saying that they're not hiring, then that just shows us something. As a community, it shows us that we're lacking.
We've always saw workers at the top end being brought in for those highly skilled jobs, but now we're seeing workers brought in for the lower skilled jobs. And so the Bermudian is being squeezed out of the economy. And that has been starting to manifest itself.
There's not many entry-level jobs out there.
You have only a certain number of jobs in what they call that bottom strata. Those jobs can only afford to pay so much. Can you really, based on that salary, pay $1,500, $2,000 rent a month? No. Well, if you have a partner, maybe. If the two of you have a second job on 4 incomes, maybe you can make by.
With the difficulty in returning to school to upgrade their skills, some Bermudians are struggling to maintain employment. Now more than ever, we are facing the pressures of an increasingly competitive and global market and must adapt accordingly. But how does an entire community work to change its cultural work ethic?
To address the issue of work ethics in Bermuda needs to be taken from a 2-component standpoint. First, you need to deal with the employees and understanding and making sure that they understand the level of expectation that is imposed upon them as employees, and that they are trained and that they understand the requirements to compete in this global market. The next component is to address that with employers, that they are paying and asking employees to work hours that are comparable with the amount of funds that they're making and that will help them to be able to sustain themselves to live in this economy.
Applying for the same job and not getting a response back, it could be at times very hard.
What financial assistants don't understand is that there aren't always jobs out there to apply to. So sometimes I would have to just call places and write it down just to say that I did call these people to look for a job. Good afternoon. Could I get transferred to your human resource department, please?
Thank you. I'll record your message at the tone. When you're finished, hang up or stay on the line for further options.
I would love to spend a lot of time with my son, but I know that in order to provide a bright future for him, this is what I have to do now. I have to get a second job and save so that years from now he has what he needs. That's kind of what I lacked growing up, was stability, and I want my son to have that.
Working 2 jobs, you're still barely making the minimum to provide for your family.
They end up looking at other jobs, and sometimes those jobs are not paying. So what do? They take a second or third job, which has a consequence on their children.
My mom, when I was younger, she worked in the hotel, cleaning rooms. So my stepdad, when I did have a stepdad, got me up every morning. I never saw my mom in the morning. She was always going. I think she made like 6 o'clock that morning. And when I came home, she usually wasn't around either because she was working at a restaurant nights. So that's a whole day going by where I don't see my mom, and it continues and continues. And when my stepdad was going, I still didn't have my mom around a lot. And that's natural for people who grew up in my environment.
Beyond the immediate financial impact of low to no pay is the lack of health insurance and mounting debt resulting from unemployment. Rising medical bills only escalate the problem, leaving many with debts so high they could not possibly pay them back.
My children don't have health insurance, so they just need not to get sick, but they don't have no coverage at all.
I don't have any health insurance at the moment.
I didn't have a GED for a teacher's job, so I was doing teacher's aid part-time, and I didn't have any insurance to pay for the hospital bill.
It was 20 minutes labor, not long at all. It was straightforward. Nothing was wrong with her until the day I was leaving. They decided to tell me she had jaundice. That's it. Everything else was fine. And with insurance, that would have not cost me anything. But without insurance, I have to come up with $5,000.
It is a struggle because now I have almost $4,000 worth of hospital bills that I thought would have been covered by insurance from my last job. But at the last minute, they told me they weren't going to cover me.
My total debt altogether is about 30 G.
Many of our clients have huge debt, often from medical bills, which is compounded by late fees, commission fees, monthly interest fees. I think the most extreme case we've seen recently was a client whose debt in only 3 years went from $2,000 to $14,000. And not only are these women facing these huge debts, but they're also being threatened with incarceration.
Always worked. It wasn't a problem of not working, but you know, when you have people living with you, you move people in to try and make life easier for you. And then when they aren't pulling your part, you tend to pay the rent, you tend to buy the groceries and do everything that needs to be done, and some things get neglected. Bottom line is they tell you, oh, anything helps. But you go to Bermuda Credit and try and pay them $5 on a bill and see how long that lasts. Since I've been at Bermuda Credit, I've more than knocked off 75% of my debt. So I can't understand how they could even try to lock me up, because that's what they were trying to do, lock me up and with saying that you're not being paid.
I think it's unfair that we get locked up for a bill that we're trying to pay.
You don't go to the judge. If they have a committal, it's straight to Hamilton Police Station and then either co-ed or the farm or wherever they're taking you. You see the judge after you get out. I'm just finding out that this isn't supposed to happen.
I had a committal and asked did I have the money to pay for the bills. And they told them no, so they had to lock me up and I still have to come out and pay the bill. If I pay the bills, at the end of the day I don't have anything for my children at all. So if my children are being neglected, then I'll be before the courts again for neglecting my children because I don't have no money to look after them.
When I go in, nothing is removed from my debt. I still have to come out and pay that debt, which means I may be coming out without a job. Okay, so what that means, I'm just going to go back to jail, on and off, never mind the fact that you have children at home.
It is possible to end up in prison for debt. Under the Debtors Act 1973, it allows for a maximum prison sentence of 12 months. It should be noted that imprisonment will not satisfy or extinguish a debt. This is an interesting contrast to where a criminal fine or penalty, such as under the Traffic Act, will be extinguished for time served, in some cases at the discretion of the magistrate.
They find the women real quick. But if the man, they don't look for them.
They don't want to go out there and look for the fathers, because they could find them if they were going out for drugs. They will find them. So I think we're an easy target, because for him, they know where to find us with our children. 3 of my children, the eldest, the father is $78,000. The youngest 3, the father is $30,000. And here I am threatened to go to jail for $450, which is unfair.
This law, as far as committing people to jail for bills, is from the 1800s. We're now in 2010. Don't owe a bill. You owe a bill, you're going straight to jail. And I think it's unfair, I think it's unfortunate, because there are people out there that are really trying to get rid of these debts, and the more you put on it, every time you turn around, I found out one of the bills that I had has $1,300 plus service charge.
There are alternatives to incarceration, such as community service. This is being used effectively with the criminal justice system. I don't believe it's being used as effectively with regards to the civil judgments that are causing incarceration, and perhaps this is an area we could develop. When you are taking out the primary caregiver in the household due to debt that is beyond her means, then perhaps we should be more mindful about the ramifications of this.
The Bermuda government has social agencies in place to help struggling families, including the Department of Financial Assistance, the Department of Child and Family Services, and the Bermuda Housing Corporation. In an economic downturn, these agencies strive to meet the needs of struggling Bermudians. However, funding cuts combined with a significant increase in the demand for assistance and support impedes on agencies' abilities to effectively assist the most vulnerable members of the community.
Some of the policies and procedures are outdated, and they're just not as helpful as they used to be to families. And food allowances, just not enough. So they prescribe dollar amounts to like males, females, teenage girl, and these policies and procedures were drawn up many years ago, and so they're just not current. If we could just talk more with the families, or even have more of the awards on par with the current cost of living, then I think that the families would be less concerned.
The money that AFA gives you, no way that's enough. No way that's enough. Regardless of how they try to make it seem, they say, oh, make it work. My worker tells me all the time, make it work, cut corners here, cut corners there. No matter how much corners you cut, you need what you need. That's the bottom line. When you don't have what you need, that leaves the door open for other people to prey on your family's weaknesses.
They didn't give me financial assistance because I didn't have a fixed bird. And I asked for them to send the checks to.
They're feeling overwhelmed, they're desperate, they need emotional support, and they really need to know that someone's listening to them and that they're being authentic with them.
Financial assistance maybe isn't doing everything that they could do to help you. The first thing they want to do is place your kids somewhere else. In actual fact that they would spend more money placing a child out of the home environment into another home environment than just assisting the parents in the home environment to give them the things they need to sustain themselves and keep the family unit together.
The sad reality of poverty is that it can tear families apart, both emotionally and physically. The emotional strain of struggling is a debilitating factor. Even worse is the looming threat families often face of losing care of their children. Roughly 30% of referrals were made to the Department of Child and Family Services for financially related matters.
Children are often taken out of the care of their parents due to the parents' financial inability to provide for them. And once they're taken, it's often quite difficult for parents to get them back. The only way for this to happen is through the courts. But access to justice can be difficult, legal aid can be hard to get, and lawyers are unaffordable. So you often have parents going up against these agencies and they're not aware of their rights and they have no representation.
I started to actually lose a sense of myself, not having my kids.
There is a link with some of the women who find themselves in poverty and having a large amount of children. The question can be asked, why would you continually have children knowing that you are unable to provide for them? As human beings, there is a component within us that needs to be validated and to feel needed and wanted. And for some who do not have that, a way that they demonstrate the validity of feeling wanted is to continue to have children. Is it healthy? No. But is it what they do? Yes. Is there a direct link with women having children and with education? Yes, there can be a direct link. And when I say that in the position that the more opportunities for education opens your access to different or particular lifestyle, and it brings sometimes an awareness of responsibility that if I am bringing this child into the world, then it is my responsibility to take care of this child. So what are we doing, or what can we do to change those paradigms that exist within those who are the most vulnerable within the community?
I'm not surprised when people ask, why do these women have children they can't afford? That's a very legitimate question, and it really is the elephant in the room. But to me, the bigger question really is, how do we educate, empower, nurture, support the children who are already here so that they don't perpetuate this cycle?